the bias that Harvard has against India is very old. From the beginning, their view towards China and their view towards India has been very different. And that's because the Chinese managed Harvard. Indians did not manage Harvard. So there's a huge chapter in this book on how China is treated at Harvard and how the Chinese have funded different things at Harvard to promote their ideology and their point of view. And India has done exactly the opposite. India has given them the money and let Harvard define the discourse. And the Indians who've gone there are the leftist, anti-India people. This has become worse during the Modi era, but it was also bad during the previous era. They were anti-Indian civilization to begin with. They were bringing in Khalistanis, Kashmir separatists. Anyone who has a gripe against India would be welcome at Harvard. So we decided that, and Harvard has the power like no other place in terms of its global brand, in terms of how they train the government in India. The Indian government sends IAS people and Indian Foreign Service people for training on governance in Harvard. So imagine that Harvard is training how to govern India. It's like Oxford used to train the British people how to govern India. Now Harvard is doing that. And we have discussed that in this book. And Harvard is also developing policies on various issues in India, all kind of issues in India, and teaching. They are the ones who feed Washington. They are the ones who feed the Congress, the Senate, the White House, the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. All this discussion on whether India is religiously free or not, all these discussions on how democracy is going down in India, they start at Harvard. So what starts at Harvard doesn't stay at Harvard. And it has more influence than anyone else. And this is why we picked Harvard. And we came up with some shocks about the extent to which Indian billionaires are behind all this by funding them.